Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment or medications if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here. Visit bewelltexas.org.
Hello and welcome to March to the Pod, presented by Eternal Roofing, a show that is back at its normal time, and we are live, and I saw that. That is confirmed on the X Twitter machine and Facebook and YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got a lot to get to this week. It's a bye-week blowout, Season 2, Episode 14. We're going to preview the Cats men's and women's basketball prospects this season. Football gained a giant commitment. Soccer prepping for the Conference USA tournament. We have updates on bowling and volleyball. I'm your host, Corey Hogue, the non-FBS insider at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Find me on your favorite social media channels at Corey Hogue Sports. That's all one word. That's CORYHOGUE Sports. I'm joined by the creator and manager of Sports of SHSU, again, all one word, on Twitter and Instagram, the chief operating officer of the Cat Fund and proud Bearcat alum, Ben Sorrells. Ben, it might be an off week, but it's not without a big show today.
Yeah, bye-week blowout. A lot to talk about, that's for sure.
A ton to talk about. But before we get into that, let's hear something about our friends over at Eternal Roofing. Eternal Roofing and General Contracting is your choice for integrity work in the Texas Hill Country. Taylor Andrus and crew provide experienced quality roofing services with a mission of roofing with faith, serving with integrity, and sheltering homes in the spirit of stewardship. Don't just take our word for it. Here's what satisfied customer Pamela Allen had to say about Eternal Roofing. They did a great job on our patio roof, came out quick for a quote. The quote was very reasonable, and they started and finished work well and quickly. Not a bad thing to say about Eternal Roofing. Give Eternal Roofing a call today at area code 830-251-5673 or area code 936-215-8539, or you can email them, taylor@eternalroofingtx.com. Okay, well, we have ad reads now, but what we don't have is it covering the entire screen. So that is something I'll go work on before
Baby
next
steps.
week.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Get it right the first time. We're trying too hard.
God, dude, if I could get it right the first time, I probably wouldn't be sitting here on this show right now. We have a lot to get to today, starting with the women's basketball team. We're going to preview what they have. They got 9 newcomers to this roster, only one starter returning. They were picked 10th in the Conference USA poll. Not much expected out of them. Not much should be after they were 7-22 last year, 2-14 in Conference USA. So, Ben, it's on you, man. You got to give us some players to watch and some reason for optimism this year.
Well, I think the reason for optimism starts where, there's only one way to go, which is up. And we've seen programs like volleyball, who were bad last year, bottom of the conference, start to move on an upward trajectory. And so I think we've seen volleyball do it, and we're obviously hoping basketball can do it as well. The one starter, like you mentioned, that Sydney Kemp, has been here for a while now, was one of your leading scorers last year. By far your best player that you returned. And then a couple other names to watch. We'll start with the freshman, Leah Salinas Beeman. Team needed some size. She's a 6'4" freshman from California, tallest player on the roster. So intrigued to kind of see how she's mixed into the rotation as a freshman. Being 6'4", that's great size for the mid-major level in women's college basketball. So intrigued to see what she does. The next name I want to hit on, getting into the transfers now, is Deborah Ogayemi, coming in from UTRGV. Didn't play a ton last year, but averaged almost a double-double 2 years ago. 6-foot transfer, redshirt junior, has showed she can really play at this level. So she's going to be one to watch. Annika Corcoran, she comes in from Detroit Mercy, averaged 8 points per game there last year, kind of a traditional guard, point guard kind of player. So maybe a player that can score a little bit for us, handle the ball. And then another name that's really interesting, and this is the last one I'll hit on, is Asia Ward. So she played JUCO basketball at McLennan a few years ago, and then ran track at Alabama, and is now back playing basketball. So obviously very athletic if you're running track at Alabama, and she played at the JUCO ranks before. So an intriguing name to watch there in Asia Ward.
She's the fastest player in 94 feet out there, Ben.
There you go.
That's what she is. All right. So look, the schedule, I think we know this. It's not what we're going to find when we start talking about the men's side. It's a pretty soft schedule for the most part. There are a few big games on there. They open up against Jarvis Christian tonight, and then they play Seattle at home. Both of them are at home. Saturdays at 6:30, Johnson Coliseum. Jarvis Christian should be a victory.
Yep.
What should we expect from this team this year? Should we expect a win over Seattle U? And where do you see them in that Conference USA? Because I know you said there's only one way to go, but there's still room at the bottom from last year, and I'm hoping they don't achieve that.
Yeah, I'm hoping the only way to go is up. But I wasn't very bullish on volleyball. I'm honestly not too very bullish on basketball either. But I mean, we've seen it be done. I don't think it's going to be as bad as last year. I think this is probably an 8th or 9th place team in Conference USA. I don't think we're going to be last. I do like some of the talent we brought in, and bringing back Sydney Kemp is a huge help. So I would probably say 8th-ish, plus or minus 1, probably is where I see us. And I think the top 8 teams get into the conference tournament. So hopefully you can get into that top 8. When it comes to Seattle, Seattle was 6-23 last year. And you get them at home, a part of the WAC CUSA game. So that should be a win. They barely beat a D3 school the other night, and lost to Washington by 40 in their first game. So it's a game that should be winnable for you if you want to be able to kind of compete for that 7-8 spot. This is a game you probably should win. So that's kind of my expectation and what to expect with Seattle on Saturday.
So 1 or 2 places higher than preseason poll. You can say improvement. Really, it is interesting, though. Saturday is really kind of a bellwether game to where this team and this program is at this moment.
Yeah, and it was set up that way, and it has been the last 2 years with this alliance, the scheduling alliance with the WAC. It's kind of the top teams play the top in the other conference, and then the bottom teams in Conference USA play the bottom teams in the WAC. And so I think it's a good way to kind of gauge where you are, and it's a game you got to win if you want to kind of be able to fight for a conference tournament spot this year.
We are a podcast on the Republic of Football Network and an extension of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Please like and subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on the various social media platforms. That includes Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at March to the Pod. It's all one word, the word March, the number 2, the pod. Or you can find us on Threads at the March to the Pod. Again, all one word with the number 2. And before we go any further here, we're going to play another ad read that's the video's not going to be right. Just telling you now, from our friends over at Eternal Roofing. Eternal Roofing only uses the finest materials in the roofing business while providing an exceptional warranty. Why do they use CertainTeed products? Because they complement any appearance, provide exceptional and reliable strength, and are known for their enduring performance. Here's what Shane Sosa had to say about Eternal Roofing. Taylor and his team are amongst the highest level of professionals. They care about their customers and go above and beyond just doing the job. Give Eternal Roofing a call today at area code 830-251-5673 or area code 936-215-8539 or email Taylor at eternalroofingtx.com. Or Ben, and hear me out, the producer just need to make sure he had the right layout up before he starts the video.
Hey, that's on the producer.
Well, honestly, what do we expect out of him? We
Enough to get the job done.
we shouldn't expect that much. That's way too darn much to put on that fella. We have another one. We have the men's team. They already began. They played Nevada on Monday. But before that began, they had a little press conference, and we got to hear from Coach Chris Mudge. Here's a clip, about 50 seconds, on his thoughts on the new season.
And it's an exciting new season coming up. We got a lot of unknowns. We returned 6, and a lot of those guys played a big role for us last year on a pretty good team. And so those guys, we know a little bit of what they're going to bring, but they're also in new roles and in new situations and new places in life. And then our new guys, I'm excited to see what we're going to do at a really tough non-conference schedule. I thought last year's non-conference schedule was tough. And then I said, hold on, let me ante up on that one. And so it's going to be really hard. It was difficult getting games for people who wanted to play us. I think when you have a really good year, it happens to you, and we've had some continued success. But I like that we're going to get tested early and often, and I don't know what this non-conference is going to bring in terms of what our record will look like.
Well, we know right now it's 0-1, but you start with Nevada on the road, 91-75. They stay on the road. In fact, they start 4 games. They start the season out on the road, first 4 games. That's just brutal. And then you look at the competition. Nevada, now this week, Tarleton on the road in Wisdom Gym, never easy. And at number 8, Baylor. My goodness. But the thing is, Ben, they can play this kind of schedule because they know more what their roster looks like. They've got a good mix of returners, a mix of young guys. Early on, this could be rough. It could be really rough while these young guys kind of work into the system and get their roles. But, I mean, honestly, this could really pay dividends come conference season.
And I think last year showed, because last year Conference USA was a pretty good conference, but it still is a 1-bid league. And I think I think the conference is better this year, but it's probably a 1-bid league once again. And so you want to be able to test yourself in the non-conference and be battle tested and play good teams and find out what you're really about. And it really worked for you last year. Last year's schedule was tough, maybe not as tough as this one, but it was difficult. And so you're going to be tested and ready to go for conference play. And Nevada, I mean, talk about a tough game to open with. They went 26-8 last year in the Mountain West, which is probably the 5th or 6th best conference in the nation. Made it to the Mountain West title game, made it to the NCAA tournament back-to-back years. And, I mean, they're a very, very good team, especially playing them on the road. And some people might remember 2 years ago, Hooten's last year, that year with Quay Grant, where we just kind of ran through the WAC regular season. We just got throttled on the road at Nevada, and it wasn't really close the entire game. The other night it was close, and 8 minutes to go, you were down by 3 or 4 points, and so you were definitely in it, which was encouraging to see. So schedule's going to have you battle tested, but I think that's only a good thing going into conference play.
I wanted to ask you about that because I'm not going to lie, man. I am not basketballed up right now, and I will not be until football's over, right? So there will not be a whole lot of me watching this basketball team. So I'm going to rely on you, which I do anyway. I mean, let's face it, it's your show. Well, at least you're the reason we have the show. Nobody's tuning in for me, I promise you. Not even my own mother, guaranteed. But anyway, back to Monday. How did they look? You mentioned it there when they had Quay Grant a few years ago, and they had a great year, went roughshod, but they went to Nevada and just got blasted. It's 16 points, but when I look at that as just an observer who hasn't gotten into this year's basketball, just knows the history of Nevada and Sam Houston, I look at that and go, either A, it was close and they extended it late, or B, they went out early and Sam Houston closed the gap late.
So it was a little bit of both. So Sam Houston started the game down 15-2, and at the half you were down 3, and it was tied early in the second half. And Lamar Wilkerson, I think, was 1 for 10 to start the game. He finished 4 of 15, so he finished 3 for his last 5 and finished with 11 points. But he was off, and so I mean, you had that going. You're playing on the road, which is tough, and you also didn't have Damon Nicholas, who's probably your best on-ball defender. And they had a really good wing that had 27 points, and so that was a factor. It sounds like that's all strictly precautionary. I think he's going to be okay. I don't think he's going to miss too much time. But you were without your best wing defender, one of your best players on the team. And I think what it came down to is Nevada shot 82% from the field in the second half, and they were 6 of 7 from 3. Once it got to about that 8-minute mark in the second half, we just could not keep scoring with them. And I mean, they scored 54 points in the second half. And so
was that defense, or was that just
I think
them
it was a
hitting
little
their shots?
It was a little bit of both. I think they ran some really good sets, and they're obviously very talented. They were able to get to the rim a couple different times, but there were 2 or 3 different 3-pointers where, I mean, I know Khalifa Sacco on 2 of them. He's 7 foot, crazy athletic, jumping as high as he can, and they're shooting over him and hitting shots. And so I think it was a little bit of both. And I mean, you were in that game until about 8 minutes left. You were down 4, and then they just kind of ran away with it. You couldn't keep scoring, but
that's
I really
typically what good teams like that do, though.
Yeah, and that's what it is. But I feel like if we could play them on a neutral site with Damon Nicholas, give us a little more time to adjust, I mean, I think there's a chance we can win that game against. Maybe
I
one
wouldn't
of the
go that far. I'd say keep it single digits.
Well, I mean, I think if we had Damon played it at a neutral site or played it at home, I think there's a shot. I don't know if I'd pick us, but I mean, maybe the best team in the Mountain West. They've got a case for that. So the fact that you're even in that kind of mix shows you're pretty good. And North Texas went out and throttled Evansville last night. I mean, they were up by almost 40 at the half, and that's a team that you didn't officially beat in a scrimmage, but you kind of did. And so that's another comparable team in the mid-majors that you can kind of look at. So love this roster. Loved what they showed the other night. Still a lot to work on, but I like what I've seen so far.
Okay, I'm going to say again, the scrimmage means absolutely nothing to me. Okay, that scrimmage result, I understand. Ben, I cannot tell you how many times I've been told how great teams are going to be after scrimmages, and I have been disappointed 100% of the time.
Oh, I know. But I think we've got a legit case to say we're better or as good as North Texas, who's a top 3 or 4 team in the Americans. So
I don't doubt that, right? Like, I'm not saying this team's not good. I don't want it to be taken wrong. I am not bashing the Cats here. I think the Cats men's basketball team is going to be really good. I also know that this is an absolutely brutal, devastating physical schedule in the non-conference that you've got to get through before you get against some tough non-conference physical teams or tough physical teams during conference play. Now, I know Tarleton didn't look good the other night, and you know that didn't set well with Billy Gillespie because I read what he had to say. We know Baylor is Baylor. What should we look for this week from this team? And see, I want to do this more than like players because I feel like we kind of already know a lot of the players on the roster. We've been over a lot of them, even some of the new guys. So feel free to mention any of the others that we should watch as well.
Yeah, just to very quickly hit on some new guys, and then I'll walk through the schedule. I thought Josiah Hammonds was incredible. The other night had 14 points, hit 4 3-pointers, did exactly what he did at UIW last year. Brendan Burns had to step in and play almost 12 minutes of point guard with Marcus Boykin in foul trouble, and I thought he did a great job to finish the first half, pretty much playing the entire back half of the first half. Looked really good. Marcus Boykin struggled last year moving up from D2. Did not see that from Burns the other night. And the freshman Jackson Ford, I mean, he's all of 6'8", 6'9". He held his own in there for the 10 to 12 minutes he was in there. So want to hit on those guys and talk about them a little bit. With this schedule, I think this next week I would like to see a win against Tarleton. Obviously, it's on the road against a pretty good team. Winning on the road in college basketball is difficult. So if you can find a way to win, I don't really care what it looks like. I think a win would be quality. And then just keep it somewhat close against Baylor. Baylor really struggled the other night. I still don't think we're good enough to win that game, but just keep it somewhat close. I think what's really the most telling part of this non-conference schedule and where we're going to see what this team is really about is there's 4 games in a 5-game stretch where you play App State, North Carolina, Wilmington, Colgate, and Texas Southern. Those are 4 teams that are very comparable to you. App State, they won, I believe it was the Sun Belt regular season title last year. Colgate's made the tournament 2 of the last 3 years. UNCW won 20-plus games. Texas Southern wins the SWAC almost every year. So I think where we see this team, where they're really going to stand within Conference USA is kind of where they or how they look with those 4 games. That's kind of my thought. Those are the best kind of metric or gauge games, I guess you could say.
See, those feel like games they should win.
And if they do win, I think our expectations of this team are going to remain the same. If they don't, maybe we're not as good as we thought they were. But
okay, so my expectations are top 2, 3. We're talking very top tier Conference USA. That's where they were.
Yeah.
Right. And they didn't lose a ton. They added some nice big pieces. Am I wrong to say they should be top 1, 2, 3 of this conference?
I think that's the expectation. And you were picked 3rd. You got, and it's funny enough, you were picked 3rd, but you had the same amount of first place votes as the first place team. And I think this year's team is more talented than last year. I know the conference is probably a little better, but I think this team is better also. So the expectation is definitely to probably be within the top 2 in the regular season. I think also the expectation is to make the tournament. It's been since 2010, 2011 since they've made the tournament, and I think people are ready to get to the tournament. This is probably the best team we've ever had, and people expect them to do it.
Big things expected from basketball. Ben, we relied on you a lot in this show. Well, there's a reason, because you know all of it. Guess what? Going to rely on you to talk about that CAT fund again and what you've got going on and why people should support these Sam Houston athletes and where they can go to support them.
Yeah, you can go to cat-fund.com to support athletes at Sam Houston. And when you sign up, you get access to a lot of cool things, exclusive content on catfans.com, stickers, discounts to the hat we had, the Cat Fund apparel we have. It sounds like we're starting to work on a event before a basketball game, similar to what we did last year in the suite at Johnson Coliseum. So, and that'll be discounted or free for Cat Fund members. So definitely want to sign up today, become a member, support athletes, get involved. Great way to show your support and help out Sam Houston Athletics and the athletes specifically.
As little as $10 a month, cat-fund.com. You definitely want to help them out, check them out, and do what you can for them. And we're going to give Ben a minute or so here of a break while we hear from our friends again over at Eternal Roofing. Eternal Roofing is locally owned and dedicated to giving back to the community by supporting local organizations and charities. They are also the winner of Next Door's Neighborhood Faves for 2 consecutive years. And as you know, if you've listened to this podcast, Eternal Roofing is your choice for Christmas lights. They provide premium lights tailored to fit your home, season-long maintenance, and hassle-free removal. Kyle Tatum said, "They're very professional and great quality, on time and clean, and really made me feel like they cared for me and my home." Give Eternal Roofing a call today at area code 830-251-5673 or area code 936-215-8539, or you can email taylor@eternalroofingtx.com. Ben, it's almost professional.
Not as professional as Eternal Roofing, but close.
Well, good God, not even close, man. Like, honestly, there's the reason why you see all that stuff on these ads, if you're watching on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, is because they've got all that on their website or on their Facebook page, and I could just go pull it because they do amazing things, and they have amazing reviews because they're amazing people. Definitely support our friends over at Eternal Roofing, because we know that Taylor Andrus, he's a fan, a big fan of miscellaneous. That or H in there, and we say miscellaneous. See, nobody can answer that.
Go. Miscellaneous.
Michelin, like the tire, but not.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Michelin tires at first.
Yeah. Oh, Lord, let's get this show back on track, and let's start with the football team. They got a big-time commitment this week, and it is 6'2", 195. He's a Dave Campbell's Texas football 3-star quarterback, Jax Brown from Pflugerville Weiss. And if you're watching on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, you're seeing some highlight videos of his junior season that we pulled off of Huddle. And look, he's the 92nd ranked quarterback by 247 Sports. He held 13 offers, including from Arizona State and Marshall, New Mexico State, Pitt, and Tulsa. Ben, this kid is raw. There is some areas to improve, but he's got the tools that say he could really be a good quarterback someday for the Cats.
Yeah, we kind of, in a bad way, got lucky being able to get him. He tore his ACL in their final scrimmage before the season started and was really starting to pick up momentum. And I think if he would have played his whole senior year, he probably would have gone up the recruiting boards even more. You said he was ranked 92nd. Quarterbacks around him that have committed nationally: Tulane, Boise State, Oklahoma State, Oregon State. Those are some of the guys that are in the spots ahead of him. So obviously a really good quarterback. I love his arm talent. I like his mobility. I think he's mobile enough to run this offense. Didn't see him use his legs a lot in the tape, but I think he can get outside the pocket enough and move in the pocket like he is there to be able to make the throws he needs to. And he's the highest rated quarterback commit we've ever had a very impressive offer list, like you said. And if you were a Cat Fund member, you were early on this. I said last week that he was likely to decommit from New Mexico State, which he did. And then I mentioned he was visiting for the Louisiana Tech game. And so you were kind of aware of the commitment or the recruitment going on here. So just teasing that. But I really like the commitment here with Jax Brown.
Cat Fund pays, man. It does. It pays. Hey. Yeah, okay, so that explains why I couldn't find any senior season tape of him because he tore his ACL. And, I think with that injury in mind, I hope that he's arriving understanding he's probably going to sit at least 2 years. I would think there's a redshirt season and at least a freshman season before he starts to even think of seeing the field.
Yeah, that's probably the thought. And he is an early enrollee too, which I think is great for a quarterback to get on campus early, start to learn the system, get used to the college atmosphere, what it's like to be a college player, especially at the quarterback position. So that's kind of my thought is he's probably going to sit at least 1 year, probably 2. And he's also an early enrollee, which I think is a great thing for a quarterback.
The weaknesses I see when I watch this are weaknesses you're going to see with almost any high school quarterback, regardless. He's a one read, then he starts to get a little nervous with his feet in the pocket. There's times he gives up and runs. There's times he kind of bounces and finds another read. He starts and stops, but he has accuracy. He's got some pretty good arm strength. He can throw that outside route. And the other thing is his ability his footwork is really good. He gets his feet set really well when he throws the ball. And when he's on the run and off balance, the throw that he had on there was also dead on perfect.
Yeah, the arm talent was the first thing that stood out to me. Just kind of a true, quarterback, can really sling it. I'm interested to kind of see what the offense would look like, assuming we're running the same offense in a year, 2 years, 3 years, because the current offense calls for the quarterback to be very involved in the run game, which it doesn't look like he is here, but I think he's mobile enough to do it a little bit. So I'm intrigued to kind of see how he fits into that system, assuming that's still the system when it's time for him to play.
A quarterback doesn't have to be – he doesn't need to do it. He doesn't need to pull that ball more than 2 or 3 times a game to keep the defense honest. Right? Like what they use a quarterback for, and you can design quarterback runs if you've got a guy for that, which the Cats do right now, right? Like, and where I put Casey Keeler in the pantheon of coaches, right? He's one of the best and for a reason. But the best coaches develop game plans and offenses and defenses to what their talent is capable of doing. That's why someone like an Andy Reid has been so successful at Kansas City. Mm-hmm. No matter who he has, he builds for what he has. I think this offense could do that too. Those quarterback moves, I understand like the read play, and that the read play, you don't need him to pull it down more than a couple times a game. That'll keep the defensive end honest over there, which is really the whole point of that play anyway, is to take one guy out from the quarterback. So I think that even if it's the same offensive staff, they will go to what fits his talents the best. That's just what Keeler does.
Yeah, and that's what they should do, and I'm assuming they will. And like you said, I mean, even if it is the same system, I think he's got enough with his legs to be able to pull it 2 to 3 times a game and keep the defense honest if you want to keep that within the system. So I'm excited about it. I mean, it's a big commitment in this class. I've kind of detailed on Cat Fund as well with an article probably about a month ago, kind of what the recruiting philosophy for this class is. It's not a very big one. Part of that is due to there being 36 seniors on the roster next year as of right now. And so the strategy kind of is, I mean, there's still a couple more high school guys. You're up to, I think, 7 now. But this isn't going to be a high school class of 20, 25 guys, just because you would much rather bank on some multi-year transfers coming in from the portal this offseason that are ready in 2026, instead of banking on a ton of high school kids being ready to go in 2026. So if you can kind of find a healthy balance of both, I think that'll be good. So that's kind of why this class is a little smaller. Not done just yet. Still a couple names to watch for, but I'll add that too, just kind of about the high school class and why it's a little smaller this year.
Well, in case you didn't know, we take comments. You comment on the show, it pops up over here. We're going to read it and answer it. Likely. I'm not saying we're reading every comment, but likely that we read and answer. And we've got one here from Brian Judson Jr. Hey, Ben. Hey, look, it's the Hey, Ben segment. Hey, Ben.
What say
you, Ben? How are we looking on the progress with the safety from College Station, Wortham? What say you, Ben?
Yeah, he plays both sides of the ball, plays running back and safety. I think he would come in as a running back, but looking very good. Decommitted from Louisiana Tech. I believe it was October 1st. I'd have to go back and look, but he visited Sam Houston right after he committed to Louisiana Tech before the season. Saw him post again recently his visit pictures, and so I'll just say it's definitely a name to keep an eye out for. Braylon Wortham, 3-star recruit from College Station High School, has offers from obviously us and Louisiana Tech, also has offers from Ohio, Navy, Miami of Ohio, ULM, Army, Arkansas State, and UTSA. So name to keep an eye on, 3-star kid that's pretty local. The staff has a good connection with Coach Mike Singletary. He was, I think he was a grad assistant on the national title team, and now he's the O-line coach over there at College Station. So have a really good connection there at College Station, which I think helps that pipeline as well.
Awesome. And thank you, Brian, for that question. Again, anyone else with those, you get them in, comment. We will take them here. Going to move on from football now. We're going to move to the European form of football, because the fans love when I say that, Ben. Fans love it. It's called soccer.
I'll just add one thing too. Braylon Wortham lists himself as an athlete in his bio. I've seen him play safety. 24/7 Sports has him as a running back. So that's why I was saying he plays both sides of the ball. So he could really slot anywhere, it seems like. Back to the European football.
Well, you could come in as a safety running back and end up as an edge rusher, honestly, in today's football.
Right.
So yeah. Anyway, back onto our European football friends, also known as soccer. They're the number 4 seed in Conference USA tournament. They come in, they're 8-7-2 overall, 5-4 at Conference USA. That's an improvement. Last year they were 6-7-4, 3-3-2 in conference last year. They're playing Middle Tennessee State tonight at 6 p.m. They're in Miami in their first game of the Conference USA tournament. There is a game that is going on now ahead of them. They did beat Middle Tennessee State 2-1, October 20th at home. The winner of this game plays Florida International Friday night at 6 p.m. Cats did not have as much luck against Florida International last time they played them, and that was a home game, Ben. So let's start with tonight's game, Middle Tennessee. what are the prospects? What do we need to watch for here when this starts at 6 o'clock, as people are probably listening to this while they're eating dinner, because that's what everyone in America wants to do.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. That was one where I think we went ahead early. They tied it right before the half, and then we won it late, won it at home 2-1. I think we looked like the better team for the most part from what I remember. So I think it's a game you should win. You beat them once, and it's not going to be easy, though. I mean, both teams were right there, kind of 3, 4, 5 the entire way throughout conference play. So Middle's definitely a good team. Going to have to play well. I think Landry Townsend needs to step up big. She has really just kind of come on in spurts this year. There'll be games where she'll have a goal and an assist, and the next one she'll have another goal, then be quiet for a few games. I think if you want to make a run in this tournament, that's definitely the name to watch for, is Landry Townsend. I think it was 5 goals and 4 assists this year was her final total. She was a first-team all-conference performer. So I think this team's going to go as she does. It's her final conference tournament. And I think if they're going to make a run, it's going to have to be in large part due to her and what she does. So look for her out there. Tonight, Landry Townsend, one of the best players in program history. And she's going to have a big game tonight. I think she will, for us to get a victory.
Stars have to step up, and now's the time she can cement her legacy. We will be watching tonight, 6 p.m. I believe that's on ESPN Plus.
Yep, it is.
Okay.
And New Mexico State versus, I think, Jack State, who's the 6th seed. That's going on right now.
Yes, they're also in Miami because the whole tournament is in Miami, oddly enough. Oddly. We have more than just soccer. You want to talk about one of the most successful programs historically in Sam Houston, and you're going to talk bowling, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is. They won the Track Cat Clash. It was their first time winning it since 2016, I believe, 4th time overall. They beat Arkansas State, another conference team in Conference USA for bowling. Let's hear what Coach Brad Hagan had to say on the weekend they had.
3 weeks in a row, we've been the number 1 seed going into Sunday. Big thing for us is we keep trying to ascend. So that's the number 1 thing with the team and changing around the lineups. We're trying to get into something that's fluid. Friday was a slow start. Saturday we picked up pretty well toward the day, especially once they started transitioning. So once the lanes started opening up a little, that was a lot better for us, and we took advantage of it. Today we knew we had to get that first one. Usually if you get the first one, the second one's almost guaranteed, and you want to build up some momentum in that championship match anyways. And hats off to Arkansas State. They're good. They're always good, and they're one of our competitors always in Conference USA. And, we appreciate the competition, and we're glad they came as well.
They started up 3-1 in that championship match, end up winning in 7. It's fun because as somebody who's never really followed college bowling, Ben, when I hear the lanes opened up, I'm like, oh, people left?
Oh, I thought you were going to say like the A gap or the center and the guard opened up the A gap or something like that.
No, that's football. But see, I know bowling. I know when I hear lanes clear, I think, oh, the people next to him left.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right, man. Show us your knowledge here. I know you know quite a bit about this bowling team. How big of a win was it for them? And because I know they've made the title match each of the last 2 weekends, I believe he said.
Yeah, and it's been a good start to the year. Last year was a pretty rough regular season, and then they came on late, made the Final Four, won their regional. And so I think that kind of play has continued coming into this year. Denise Blankensy, I don't want to butcher her last name, but definitely a name to watch. She was an All-American last year, I believe, a first-team All-American. So that's a name to watch for them. But it kind of seems like they've continued that momentum from last year and beating an Arkansas State school that's very good. Another Conference USA school is important. A lot of people don't know, but Conference USA is the SEC of bowling. The entire Final Four last year was Conference USA teams. So it's always good to be able to beat one of your conference mates in a tournament. So definitely a good start to the year for bowling so far, and just kind of picking up where they were last year.
Well, and the prospects are, all you got to do is make that tournament, right? And when you're in the SEC of bowling and you faced one of those top competitors and you took them down, you're at a good spot right now. Hopefully you stay there when the end of the season comes.
Yeah, and Hagen's done a great job. I mean, ever since he's gotten here, he's been here for over a decade now, I believe. And last year, we just saw them continue to get better. And if they're playing this well right now, I think they're just going to be even better towards the end of the year. And I mean, they're always in the mix for a national title, and I expect this year to be no different.
Are there any? I mean, dude, and I don't mean this, and I want to make sure this is clear. This is a serious question. Because I'm sure it happens. Are there injury concerns in bowling?
I would think so. Yeah.
I mean,
hand, wrist, finger. I mean, with how much you're throwing,
ankle, the way they slide sometimes.
Yeah, ankle.
I mean, honestly, like I look, when I go bowling, there's no risk of injury. But that's because I'm not going to sit there and try to be an actual bowler. I see them bowl and I watch it on TV and I'm like, man, that could actually lead to injuries.
Yeah. I mean, anything from the shoulder to the fingertip, I feel like is exposed in bowling.
Especially if the other team like throws a bowling ball at you in mid throw or something.
Yeah, that'll do it too. That might expose more than just the arm.
Now I've got images of the bowling team throwing bowling balls at each other as they're trying to get away from me. That's where my hands get the blower.
Well, if they're throwing bowling balls, they're probably pretty strong too. Those things are dense.
Yeah. Yeah, they're heavy. That breaking arm.
Yeah.
It's for real. Hey, let's just go ahead and pretend that didn't happen. Start talking about volleyball here. They are 13-12 overall, 8-6 in Conference USA. They've got 2 weekends left. Last weekend was not good. They lost both to Liberty, who is below them in the standings. Probably would have preferred to have taken at least one of those. However, it's over. You move on. That's all you can do. They have conference leading Western Kentucky. Ooh, Friday night at 6 p.m. I say that. And then they play them again Saturday at noon, all at Johnson Coliseum. They're undefeated in Conference USA. They're pretty good, Ben. That's okay. Let's just break it down. Western Kentucky comes in. That's going to be rough. They're undefeated.
Yeah.
You hope to take some sets. But it's the final weekend. I believe it's FIU they have.
Yeah.
They're currently 5th in the standings. These last 4, if they get a split 2-2, where does that put them? If it goes to a 1-3, where does that put them? God forbid it goes 0-4, because that'd be a 6-game losing streak heading to the tournament.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen. I think WKU is probably 2 losses. I mean, and shout out to WKU. I mean, they're a fringe top 25 team every year. Their win a couple nights ago clinched their 25th consecutive 20-win season, which is just ridiculous to sustain winning for that long. So
is that good? 25 straight?
25 straight seasons of 20 wins or more.
Is that good?
I would consider it good.
That's like with 25 years, what do they call that? The quarter century?
Yeah. That is what. So I'm not expecting too much this weekend.
It's okay.
So you're probably 8-8 after this weekend, but I think FIU is 2 winnable games, even though it is on the road. I think we've performed just as well on the road as we have at home for the most part. FIU is 4-10 in conference play right now. So I think 2 wins there is definitely attainable. And if you can come out of conference play 10-8 or even 9-9, I think that's a big victory. You were picked last in conference play. You were last in conference play last year with a 1-15 record. And so to go 9-9 or 10-8, which it looks like they will, that's a huge improvement. And if you go 10-8, I think you end up with a winning record on the year. Also, you would be 15-14, I think it is, or something like that. You'd be 1 game above 500, whatever it is. So a big improvement this year, kind of regardless of what WKU weekend looks like. And if you can win against FIU, I mean, it's kind of the cherry on top.
Look, volleyball, the improvement they've earned that the praise, haven't they?
Yeah,
good job. Before we get off of here, Ben, we got to give some more praise out to these fans of Sam Houston that have shown up. There was a post, I believe, retweeted it from the March to the Pod on Twitter account I think it was today. Things have been running together lately.
Yeah.
But they are, of the team's 5-year average of increased attendance, Sam Houston is right there at the top, like 70-something% increase. And that's because the fans are coming out. And you know what? I'm hard on you, and I've told you, though, I will always give you the truth. And when you deserve your kudos, you get them. Thank you. Congratulations. Let's keep improving to the fans.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit of everybody. I thought the alumni really showed out the first 2 or 3 games. In the last couple of games, the students have really showed out, especially against Louisiana Tech. I mean, the students in that game were just really, really good. And you're averaging close.
What do we do to get them all at the same time?
I don't.
I mean, that right? Like that's.
And I think the student part being good is the midweek stuff, and they're on campus, and then also on the other side, it's midweek at 6 or 7, and so
force them to have Saturday classes and Sunday classes.
I don't know if they'll still be students if you force them to have that.
Well, tell them they get like Monday off or something.
Yeah, there you go. Just move your weekend back.
Move the weekend. This way, you're at the game on Saturday.
Yeah,
or you could do what the
talking about Grand Canyon.
No, what West Point does.
Oh, what's that? Oh, you mandated or something?
West Point takes the money out of every, because when you're in college there, you're getting paid at West Point basically because you're earning service time or whatever. You don't see a whole lot of that because like you pay for football season tickets whether you want to or not. And then you're forced to show up there on Saturdays at the home games. So, I don't know if we should go that far. What does Grand Canyon do?
Well, I mean, there's always the rumors that they're paying people to go. Them in New Mexico State have always kind of had that banter.
Oh, they're busting people. Whatever, man. They're going Mountain West Conference. They can't even figure out where they want to be right now.
Well, it was WAC, WCC, Mountain West. They might end up in the Pac-12 next week. You never know.
They really could. And they've got that money, it can be debated as to how they do it and the for-profit schools and things of that nature. But fact is they have the funds they have and they're powerful and they're going to be wanted by these big conferences for that.
Yeah. It almost feels like it's a matter of time until they get a football program. I feel like.
I know there may not be a lot of people still tuned in at this point because, people tend to start tuning out when we get away from like football and basketball. But I want to throw this little nugget in there that they're going to be like, dang it, I wish we would have stayed to the end.
Scoop
do what?
I thought you were going to give us a scoop ski.
Oh, no, I ain't got no potatoes.
Who wants scoop skis? I got potatoes. Who got the scoop skis? I got potatoes.
I ain't got none of that right now. But what I'm going to ask you is if there's another round of realignment, where does Sam Houston go? If they're to move up, where would they move up to at this point?
Yeah, so that's under the assumption probably that Conference USA is going to kind of fold into a couple other conferences.
Not really. I mean, I think, honestly, listen, Sam Houston right now, their football team's doing well. The men's basketball is doing well. That starts attracting other conferences, right? You've got some other things some outlying sports, golf, and, and we've talked about bowling, although I don't think bowling would change conferences. But regardless, there is some things that's attractive to conferences like a Mountain West and stuff, or an American. Are those steps that we could see in just a few short years?
The American, I think, is a little bit too much of a step up. It would be very tough to compete with a Tulane or Memphis in a lot of sports, or even an Army, Navy in football. But I would say the Sun Belt, one, because I think you can compete pretty well in the major sports right away, pretty much. I think we'd be a top 4 or 5 Sun Belt team. I think top 2 to 3 men's basketball team. Baseball would compete. Some of the other good sports like golf and bowling would still compete. And I think the regional aspect is a lot better in the Sun Belt than the Mountain West. You could travel to a UL Monroe, a Texas State, an Arkansas State. And so I think the regionality of it definitely comes into play and is something I would want to consider when looking at it.
So for those who can see on the picture behind me, you could see the TV in the back. It's got the Bluey playing now behind me. And earlier it was my son playing Madden. I'm not sure how much that, but he won the Super Bowl again with, I think with the Broncos this time. So congratulations, Gabe, on another Super Bowl win.
Congrats. It's Casey Keeler's head coach. He's his biggest
the only head coach. Listen, man. Okay, you remember that picture he drew? And I'm going to tell you what happened. That picture he drew, when they lost that game to Western Kentucky, that thing almost went in the trash.
Sounds like some of our fans.
This boy was heartbroken, and we convinced him to give him another chance. And now Casey Keeler's one of the best coaches in the country again because the Cats keep winning.
And
no pressure.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope we do, or it's going in the trash.
Gosh, that was something. No pressure, Coach Keeler. No pressure. Thankfully, you have a weekend off and let some of that ease a little bit, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure Gabe is his biggest critic, not the fans or the boosters or the administration. It's Gabe. That's what he's coaching for.
Gabe asked a lot of the right questions, and he's only 8 years old. Hey, we want to say thank you to everyone who is watching and listening today. Appreciate you putting up with me taking this off the rails again, as always. Thank you, Ben, for putting up with my shenanigans and bringing all of that great information. Look, we have some things to go do. It's almost 5 o'clock, and we got about an hour until this soccer game kicks off on ESPN Plus, where Cat Nation's going to be out there rooting them on. So
basketball too.
Basketball tonight too. That's right. They're playing Jarvis Christian. Hey, a lot to go tune into, a lot to show up for. We need to get some victories. So Ben, take us out with something that's going to get us some wins this weekend.
Yeah, eat 'em up, Cats, and let's have the Lady Bearcats march to a victory tonight.
March to victory.